Back again, awesome fellas, still your pal Faye here, and today we're digging into the sky settings that define Pure's overall feel. So here's the Pure PPF we built in the previous video, still rocking those tweaks I made to match the visual tone I was aiming for. Now in part 2, we're focusing on one of the biggest factors that defines your whole scene, the sky. First, set your time to high noon, then open up the Pure Config app, head to the Sky tab, and you'll find the Light Sky Level slider. This one controls the sky's base brightness and how it gradually ramps up from the horizon all the way to the top of the skybox. Time for the clouds, those fluffy mood setters that can make your sky look calm and cinematic or straight out of an incoming apocalypse. Like I mentioned back in part 1, your tone mapping choice decides the overall look of everything, including the clouds. You can fine-tune their appearance using the brightness and contrast sliders in the Clouds tab. Depending on how you set those two, they don't just shape how the clouds look, they also influence the sky's brightness and color. It might seem like they're overriding the sky level setting from earlier, but they're not. Push the brightness slider to the right and the sky starts losing its blue tone. Increase the contrast and the sky deepens into a darker, richer blue. Balancing these is key, since they'll also affect how your sky behaves during sunrise and sunset. We'll cover that later. How you set the cloud brightness also changes how much light they bounce back down, mainly affecting reflections on the car. Meanwhile, tweaking the ambient light settings under the Light tab, especially ambient light V2 clouds, controls how much of that bounce light spreads across everything else in the scene. Those clouds aren't just decoration, they're your unpaid lighting department. Coming up is the sun. Its settings are scattered all over Pure's menus, letting you tweak its size, how it shines, and how the driver reacts when it hits their face. For screenshots, cinematics, or even your daily hot laps, you might want to tweak how the sun looks on screen. There are a few ways to shape those sun streaks, or God rays if you prefer the fancy term. Open the PPF editor and head to the Sun Rays tab. Crank up the noise mask slider to enhance the streak detail, then fine-tune their pattern with the noise frequency slider. You can also adjust the PP God Rays option in the General tab of the Pure PP app to control the overall thickness of those rays. There's also a secondary sun binding effect that works similarly. Go to the Shaders tab in the Pure Config app and open Sun Binding. In the A-Star Effects section, you'll find additional parameters for God Rays, giving you even more control over how the sun flares behave. The sun binding iris sliders are what make the screen darken when you're staring straight at the sun, basically simulating that instinctive squint we all do when it's too bright. Get it dialed in right, and you'll have realistic, natural lighting that doesn't roast your retinas. Next, we're moving on to the golden hour, where the lighting gets warmer, the reflections go softer, and the whole scene starts to feel alive. Before doing anything, export your current config so you can load it back later. Then create a new one specifically for your sunset or sunrise setup. Since we're using the basic Pure config here, there are a few limitations. This setup doesn't use a custom Pure script. Some custom PPFs made by modders include those scripts, which unlock extra parameters for finer control. They can apply specific multipliers to things like cloud contrast or ambient light, triggered only under certain conditions, like during the golden hour. It's a powerful approach, but for now, we'll keep things simple and work within the base config. We are starting off by setting the time to either sunset or sunrise, your choice. Personally, I find the Broken Clouds weather preset gives the best golden hour mood, but feel free to roll with whatever fits your taste. Now, pay attention to these parameters inside the Pure Config app. They're what really sell that warm sunset glow. Sun level, sun saturation, sun speculars, clouds brightness and contrast, plus a few of the ambient light sliders, including the ones under Ambient Light V2. You might also want to bump up the sun size a bit for extra flair. Play around with those until you get the look you're after. Then export the setup so you can load it anytime the sun's low on the horizon. Since these changes are pretty extreme for the golden hour, the scene will look completely blown out once the sun climbs higher. When that happens, just reload your previous config and act like nothing happened. Here's a little tip. Every track actually comes with its own default config, which means the same pure PPF can look a bit different depending on where you load it. That's why sometimes your perfectly tuned lighting on one track ends up looking like a discount filter on another. To handle that, Pure gives you the option to save settings per track. Just open the Pure Config app, hit the Save Track Specific Config button, and make sure Config Track Specific Loading is checked. That way, Pure automatically loads your custom setup every time you run that track. It's basically like telling Pure, yeah, keep your hands off my global settings, this one's exclusive. All right, time to switch off the sun and see how Pure handles the night. Don't rush this part. Take it nice and slow.
That's what she said.
The night section in Pure PPF has its own quirks and features. And yeah, that's where things start to get fun. Some tracks won't show stars or clouds properly depending on their default config, so don't panic if things look a bit off. Inside the Night tab of the Pure Config app, you'll find controls for night light pollution. These sliders decide how your sky behaves after dark. The NLP level and NLP density sliders adjust how visible the stars, moon, and clouds are, while also affecting how much ambient light spills onto the ground. The NLP lowest ambient slider tweaks how dark the surface gets, with minor influence on the sky too, or in simpler terms, how close you want to get to driving blind. Then you've got the rest of the sliders that deal with the stars, Milky Way, and moon brightness, all of which play a part in how bright your scene looks when lunar lighting kicks in. Finding the right mix here is half science, half art. Just remember to keep things balanced. Not everything needs to shine like a Fast and Furious sequel pretending it's still about cars. Next up, the glare settings, the part that decides how every light source in your game shows off, from headlights and brake lights to track lamps and even the sun itself. Head over to the Pure Config app, open the Light tab, and scroll down to the CSP Lights section. You'll find 3 key sliders: Lights Bounce, Lights Emissive, and Lights Displays. These handle how light interacts and reflects across the scene, but the real star of the show lives inside the Post-Process Filter app under the Glare tab. That's where the serious magic happens. Don't let the sea of sliders freak you out. This is where patience pays off. Spend a bit of time experimenting and you'll start to see how each tweak changes the mood of your scene. I'm not going to hand you a best setting here. This part's all about your own taste and creativity. That said, turning on Use Custom Shape gives you access to extra parameters for finer control, especially when you want to shape those small, subtle glare details. Once enabled, you can also set up different glare behavior for what you see inside the cockpit, from glowing dashboards to exterior reflections. Just keep your eyes open, literally. Too much glare, and you'll start feeling like you're driving through a flashbang. That wraps up the main tour of Pure's PPF, from skies and sunlight to golden hours, nights, and glares. You've now got all the tools to shape your own custom look, whether it's photoreal perfection or full-blown cinematic chaos. If you've made it this far, you're clearly one of the awesome fellas who actually tweak instead of just drive. Go wild with your settings, experiment, break things, fix them again. That's half the fun. The tweak default Pure PPF used in this video, along with all the settings and the reference config you can import, are linked in the description if you want to follow along. Remember to subscribe, it really helps me keep this channel going. More tutorials and other stuff you won't find anywhere else are in the works. I'm Faye wrapping it up for now, so keep your rig warm and your visuals sharp. And as always, stay awesome.